Hi, I'm Dolly Vasta, and welcome back once again to For Art's Sake. I have two very special guests with me today. They're from Crossroads Theater in New Brunswick. One is a gentleman who you have seen on many a television show. His name is Carl Lumley, and he's a delightful gentleman, and I'm so happy to have him here and excited about meeting him. The other gentleman is associate producer of the show that is currently being produced at Crossroads, which is Disappearance, and his name is Ken Johnson. And Ken, thank you for coming. I know both of you have been busy with rehearsals and performances every single night. Tell me something. Why did you decide to do this show at this time? Was it because of February is a very special month?
Actually, February is Black History Month. And in all honesty, we had planned to do Disappearance at the beginning of the season. We've tried to look at Black History Month in a different way for the past couple of years because we started to feel that people were focusing in too much on the month of February for Black programming. So it just so happened that the scheduling for the performers worked out this way. But Black History Month is something that we're looking at in a different way now, and trying to say that anything we do is suitable for Black History Month.
Actually, Black History Month goes through 12 months of the year.
Correct.
Why this particular play did you decide to do in New Brunswick rather than have it done, say, in the city?
Well, for those people in the community that are familiar with Crossroads, for the past 5 or 6 years, we've been devoted primarily to developing new works. And generally, a new piece of work is in development for anywhere from 2 to 3 years. And the production that you usually see at Crossroads is the beginning of a phase of development for a project. So normally we won't go directly to New York with something. We try to use Crossroads as a launching point, and hopefully a production that we believe has the potential to succeed in New York will get a second or maybe a third production before it goes into New York. So this is the beginning of the process for the Disappearance.
Carl, we talked briefly before we started here, and you said to me that you were from Jamaica. This is without a doubt the worst season of the year to be not only in New Jersey but in Middlesex County. What brought you to New Brunswick? What was it about this script?
I think what is being attempted is a different use of the medium. It's kind of a cross between a book, a play, and in some ways a film. But the aspect of it that really intrigued me was the idea of a book up and walking around. Reading is a large part of my life and always has been. I think at certain times in my life, reading was a way for me to, I won't say escape, I will say journey into other worlds. And reading is something that I think has fallen off in the country as a whole, but definitely in our community. I think that film and television has such sensational, dynamic qualities to it that sometimes it lures the mind. Books are vitally important, and so the idea of a project, especially called Books with Legs.
Yes, that was wonderful.
Yeah, that intrigued me a great deal. Also, you know, very often as an actor, you can get quite caught up in playing a character. You can get, in fact, kind of selfish about your character. And here is a case where I'm a narrator and a storyteller, and that tradition goes back so deeply into African American consciousness. I wanted to be a part of that. And then I would say also, honestly, the fact is I have been trying to work with Crossroads for a number of years, and for one reason or another, things didn't work out, so this was a chance.
You finally caught up.
Yes, absolutely. And then it's Ruby D.
Oh yes, what more? What Ruby D, we must say, is your co-star.
Yes, co-narrator. This piece is such an ensemble, and an ensemble even outside of the acting group, an ensemble with the technical people. There's a tremendous amount going on at the same time we're down there acting. There are projections and very, very vital sound cues. Really, all of it in an attempt to give you the same kind of experience you have when you read a book. You know, your eye sees the image of the word, and then it conjures up within your head all sorts of images. And because the imagination is so much more full than any technical piece of equipment can be, there's a totality to it that you don't get. You know, when you watch a television, it's you, and the screen is over there. When you watch a movie, even with Sensurround, it's you, and the screen is up there. But this, I think, involves sort of setting an audience down inside this book. And anything can happen, and does. It's a very exciting project to me, and that's why I want to be here for it.
When you were just talking, I was thinking of the difference between the reading of a book and then you watch something. It's still, despite the characterizations, there's something flat about it. When you read a description in a book, you can see a horror movie, for instance, and it can have the greatest, effects they want to use, and yet it's what's in your head when you read that printed page that is ever so more vivid.
Right. And I think it attaches you to those things in yourself. You can say black car, and everyone will have their own associations. Maybe your grandfather had a black car that was a Cadillac. Maybe I have a black car that's a Chevy that was my first car when I was 16. Everybody can have a different point of attachment to it. But when you see it on television or you see it in a film, it's a very specific image. It doesn't allow you to go as far, and I think it doesn't allow you to get as close to what you're seeing.
Have you ever done anything like this before?
No. This is singular in my experience, yes.
Well, this was a total approach that came via Ruby D, right? Mm-hmm. And yet, in its own way, it is not, it is really an old approach to some degree. I mean, you said it goes back, the storyteller goes back to black influence, African. Also Greek theater always had a storyteller. And one of the earliest ones that I had thought of after I had read all the promo materials on this was Thornton Wilder's Our Town, which was one of the early ones that I remembered.
Right.
That he did all the little in-betweens so that you knew each of what these characters were kind of thinking. Right. And that too had no real set. Just people sitting in 3 rows of chairs.
Right.
Yeah, well, they say that there's nothing new.
That's right.
and in that sense, you can find a lot of things that have basically done the same thing at different times. I mean, there's been readers' theater and so on and so forth. I think the best way of sort of thinking of books with legs, for Ruby, she felt that her experience had been that there had been a number of African American authors that had been ignored, and that Books with Legs was her commitment to reinvigorating a sense of awareness about the quality of literature that exists within the realm of the African American experience. And in fact, The Disappearance is the beginning of a series of Books with Legs, which Crossroads has committed to. And hopefully we'll be presenting one book each year for the next few years. But you're absolutely right. I think that what we're trying to do is bring back something that is, the form has existed in other periods of time, certainly the narrator and certainly the idea of a concert reading.
Which, what they say, mimicry is really a form of kind of adulation kind of thing, of liking something so well. The sincerest form of flattery, that's what had just escaped my mind at the moment. It's late today. And as you said, nothing is ever really new. You just take the old, you add to it, and you make it newer.
But you know, the thing, and I guess for me, this is completely new, because in our town, that was scripted for the stage. In this instance, we are, as narrators, Ruby and I, dealing solely with the narrative portion of the book.
Of the novel, right.
You know, and that is, we are essentially bringing the author's narrative into the piece as a character, which is a difficult thing, I feel, and something that makes it very special for me, because it is essentially trying to represent what the author was really saying. You know, the characters in the book, their dialogue contains, you know, the information about who they are as people and what their relationships are with one another. The narrative takes us inside their heads. It's the subtext that, you know, actors don't get to say when they do a character, how they really feel, what it really means. The protagonist in this case being a 16-year-old black male who, as we know, in this society right now is an endangered species in our country. And we sometimes would tend to look at an individual and make certain assumptions about what is going on with their heads. And in this piece, we see this fellow, but we also get an opportunity to get the verity of what's going on in his head, because we have the narrative to deal with. So I think for me, the responsibility of being as true in that narrative as possible is a challenge, and makes it unlike anything I've ever seen. I imagine things like this have probably existed, but normally I think they're adapted in a way that makes that narrative something else. This is simply lifted right up out of the book.
And actually, as you said before, you're not really doing a character.
Right, right.
In essence, you're doing you.
Yes, it's true. It's true. My feelings about what is taking place in this story with this family, with this young man, are vital, I think, to understanding what the book is about. And you know, the tradition of the African griot, and the fact that among our people for a long time, the oral tradition was really all we had, even when you stop and think about the fact that it took a long time for the education system to become equalized, for us to even have schools in some places in the country. There were, you know, when slaves came, they were, I'll say, actively discouraged from reading, from becoming educated, from passing information between themselves. And I think that that's something that made the word so important, that made understanding words, and that made the beauty of having words so important. A lot of our youth right now don't really attach to words. In some ways, rap music has brought about maybe a greater appreciation for words again. I really think.
Yeah. I hadn't thought of it that way, but you're right.
Yeah, you know, there was a period, it seems like in the 70s, you never really listened to the lyrics of a song. It was the beat. You know, the beat goes on, and
right.
the beat. Beat is very vital, but now I think rap music has reunited the beat with the message. And, you know, there are kids who can tell you every word on some of these rap songs. Whether you agree with some of the content or not, it is an appreciation for the word, which I think has to come back.
It's very true. How long will this show be going?
Well, we run till February 21st.
So you have quite a long run.
Yep.
And you know something, You've been talking about it all along, but we've been teasing our audience just a little bit. We keep saying about the boy, about the boy. Exactly. What is the show about? Kind of in a nutshell.
Like,
One
I'll
can
let
start
Carl
and one
take
can
that.
finish,
Yeah.
or
Okay.
take turns.
Well,
Be nice. Don't fight.
Out of my head, my understanding of it, that a middle-class family decides, well, really the mother of the middle-class family decides to bring a foster child into the home. She has been involved in a series of court cases, and she saw this young man. He was involved in a murder trial, and his friends finally testified that he had nothing to do with it. She thought that he would end up going to a situation where he might not receive the love. She saw something special in him and wanted to bring him into her home. And she does that. And then, without tipping anything off, a disappearance occurs. Someone turns up missing, and suspicion immediately falls on this young man, more so because of his background and his recent history than because of anything innately in him. He is a very beautiful, very intelligent young man, and as it turns out, he will be responsible for solving the disappearance.
In fact, it's kind of a light on our times right now, that it's really not innocent until proven guilty. It's almost guilty until proven innocent.
Yeah, yeah.
Which is kind of
some
sad.
people,
It's a
yes.
sad reflection.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, we're lucky enough, and we do have a piece of tape. And so with the first piece of tape that we do have, you want to set this up for us?
Yes. This woman, Mrs. Amesley, has made this decision, and she's receiving some resistance from her family, as well as other people in the neighborhood. But this is he has arrived in the house, he is there, and at this point she has left him alone to cook his breakfast. No one else is in the house, and he is there by himself. This is his first day.
Why don't we take a look at that?
After he had eaten, Imamu washed and wiped his plate and the fork and the pan and put them away, and then he went to choose the glass he wanted to drink from. Standing on a chair, he searched through the shelves. Those on the top shelf were made of heavy cut crystal. Some of them had long stems. From among these, he chose a wine glass. He took it back to the table. He poured out his milk, and then he took a jar of cherries from the refrigerator and added enough syrup to turn the milk a deep pink.
So at this point in the piece, our young man Imamu is in a world that he is really not familiar with. This is a beautiful home, a fully stocked refrigerator, and one of the other things that he's quite struck by is there's all this art on the wall. You know, reproductions of very famous paintings, but also central to this, there is an original painting done by a former tenant of this family, and that painting becomes what his understanding of the painting. He sees things in this painting that this family has not been able to see, and it is what he sees in the painting and understands about the painting that ultimately leads him to the discovery of where this person who has disappeared will be found.
So what happens to him then? I mean, after he does this whole mishmash of this, the syrup and the glass and that?
Essentially what happens is the person who disappears turns up missing. And the next thing we see is this family who has brought him into this home turning against him. And he becomes the object of suspicion, solely because this is, after all, a young man from the street.
And the new kid on the block.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we take a look?
All right.
This yours? Mind telling me how it got in your room?
I don't have to answer you. I know my rights.
Well, now, what do you need rights for?
To deal with mothers like you.
I didn't accuse you of nothing. Yet.
I ain't done nothing. And I can prove I ain't done nothing. I know my rights.
Sit down. Now, what happened to your hand?
Ain't nothing to do with you.
Hey, I asked you a question. Don't let me get mean.
And I said it ain't got nothing to do with you.
He hurt his hand at my Aunt Dora's.
Oh, Norman! He come to me with his cut hand. I bandaged it. You lied! You lied! He said he cut his hand on Anne Crystal glass. Is he blood you must see there?
Dorabelle got up and walking to the glass cabinet, opened it and stood looking at the top shelf.
Hey! But they look all there.
Heads turned toward the glass cabinet. Eyes stared up following Dorabelle's. Crazy. All they had to do was count them. He wanted to laugh. Everything seemed so simple. But it was so simple, then why didn't he tell them to count them?
What did you do with her? What did you do with my child?
Okay, out with it. What you do with the kid? You hear me? Hey, I'm talking to you, man. What you do with it? Look, I'm asking you just one more time.
You a simple mother.
You never answered about your hand.
We can take you where we can make you talk.
And where you think that's gonna get you?
I'll tell you where. Just as far as we can make you go.
Off me, nigga.
After the police led him away, Dale's mind was as black as the night outside the window. Then the events of the evening strung themselves through her mind like a moving picture. Perk had gone out this morning and had not come back. Had something terrible happened to her? Or had she been taken by some devilish whim and gone off somewhere to come back tomorrow? What if she had? Then how could any one of them face him up? It's my fault.
Ken, it's your turn. The music is so different for this. I mean, there's so many different melodies that are under the entire show, and usually you find this in a musical. You don't really find this in a drama.
Yeah, well, I think Carl was mentioning the fact that one of the things that made the form of the piece so exciting is that it had a very cinematic style to it. And you notice with cinema, music can be and often is laid under everything. It's underscoring everything. And that was the idea behind the music for the Disappearance. And it's beautifully done by the composer HQ and very effective.
Well, he has a lot of credits.
Yes.
Ooh, a lot of credits.
Yeah. This is the first time we've worked with him, but we're extremely impressed with what we've seen so far. But it's you know, the entire concept for the piece, the set, which was designed by John Ezell, who is a set designer who's been around for a number of years. I mean, he's probably designed at every major theater company in the country. The lighting designer, Jackie Manassi, the costume designer, Theone V. Aldridge, one of the top 3 costume designers in the country, maybe in the world.
Right, I was reading those credits, like Aja Fall.
Oh, she's just
tremendous.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a tremendous team. I mean, a world-class team of artists was assembled to develop this concept that Ruby Dee is trying to launch. Like I said, this is more of an exploration than it is a final resting place for us. And what was extremely exciting about working on this process was to see the level of artistry that went into each component, so that you have a very rich and layered experience, words and music and multimedia images, lighting, all of those things working together to create an experience that, thank God, still exists in the world. Because as you well know, with the advent of cable television and maybe satellite television shortly and blockbuster video, the theater is struggling to maintain its relevance to the community. The world is changing quite rapidly, and we're trying to find a way to stay in step with the changes that are going on in the world.
Or even ahead of them.
Well,
Maybe a half a step ahead in order to get them in.
yes.
I think people get very complacent too. I mean, you can sit in front of your television set, and it's very easy not to go out at night and, you know, to open a beer or have a drink or something like that, and you get the munchies, and you know, you turn on the tube, and that's it. But nothing really compares to the experience of going to live theater.
Absolutely.
And once you're there, you say you will never give it up. You will always keep coming back.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, you know, they say the difference between art and show business is that art has a responsibility to uplift the human spirit. And I think if there's anything that's unique about the theater experience at Crossroads, is that at the core of our mission is to present work to our audiences that will have an impact upon the quality of life that we lead today. And Carl talked a little bit about the young black male as an endangered species, and the research that we've done on the dilemma of a young black man in this country shows that over 1 million young black people are in prison right now. Over 50% of the prison population is black. And I think we have a lot of work still to do in this country, and we hope that Crossroads is doing something to help.
It's doing something about it. Well, I think it has. Well, I see it's that time again, and I thank both of you for coming. It's been a pleasure. To all of you out there, please don't miss this show at the Crossroads Theater in New Brunswick. Call the box office. You're going to see the number coming up on the screen. Take care, and I'll see you all next month. In the meantime, take care.